Hello, my name is Randy Werder. I'm the president of Black Diamond Advisory. And today we're going to talk to Unifi about their operational forecasting on the OneStream platform. Today we're going to hear from Dave Collins, who's going to walk us through OneStream. Mahanri Cruz is going to join us from Unifi. Carl Ole is going to be driving the demo today, and I'm going to be around asking Mahanri some questions on the solution they put together. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk a little bit about Black Diamond. Dave's going to give us a OneStream overview. Mahanri is going to give us a little background on Unifi. And then we're going to look at a little demo of Unifi's forecasting solution in OneStream. So let's start with Black Diamond. We're a Diamond partner, which is the highest possible partner recognition that OneStream can give. This is given to partners with proven delivery capabilities and customer success. This has allowed us to be a destination firm for top talent and allows us to deliver across the full platform. We have many different solutions at Black Diamond we put together across the platform of OneStream, across many, many industries. This allows us to create a formula for success for your company. Next up, I'm going to turn it over to Dave Collins, and he's going to walk through OneStream.
Thank you, Randy. So hi, everyone. I'm Dave Collins. I'm a director of solutions consulting within OneStream, but I'm dedicated to the Partner Alliance channel, specifically to partners, great partners actually, like Microsoft and Black Diamond. Really glad to be here with you today to give you an introduction and overview, as it were, to OneStream. Let's talk about some numbers to start. One of the things that we focus on is absolute success with our customers. So the metric that we look at is 100% customer success. It has served us well over the last decade plus. We actually have acquired over 700 customers. Many of them have converted from legacy Oracle Hyperion or SAP or IBM implementations. And we have solutions in what we refer to as the marketplace. I'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. So back when BPM or EPM or CPM first came about, I was actually at Hyperion. I was a global domain leader for performance management and analytics. Notice I said performance management. There are several different flavors of it. CPM, which is what Gartner refers to and we refer to, is a collection of services and applications that allow an organization to manage itself, the health of the organization. And when it first began, it was really a collection of applications for financial consolidation, for planning, budgeting, forecasting, sometimes referred to as FP&A, for reporting to tie all of this together. After all, I'm looking backward with consolidation, I'm looking forward with planning, budgeting, forecasting. And because of the nature, the disconnected nature of the applications or the modules, you had to have reporting tie it together. And sometimes you were using dimensional structures to do so. Ultimately, you're trying to get the information into the hands of the consumer, be it a stakeholder, a business analyst, or anyone in between, so that they can make decisions properly. And the great challenge really lies in the lines that represent the integration points, not just from the source system to performance management, but between the performance management modules. When I left Oracle in very late 2010, I learned two things. Number one, it's not about the software, it's about the people and the process, and yes, then the enabling technology or software that enables the people and the process. And number two, this is really hard. The lines represent about 18 months of work for me after I left Oracle on one of the projects that I was responsible for. And I would say that it was a failure because it took 18 months of time, not for the deployment, but just for the integration. The notion that the cloud will solve for that is actually a misnomer. That is, unless you're using OneStream Cloud, which is powered by Azure, Microsoft Azure. When OneStream was created a bit more than a decade ago, two visionaries, Bob Powers and Tom Shea from Hyperion and Oracle lineage, came together to focus in on performance management, but a different way of approaching performance management. First and foremost, as I mentioned a few slides ago, they wanted to establish a line in the sand, 100% customer success. We still have that metric intact today. We still have every customer that has come into the OneStream family over the course of that decade plus. To get there, Tom and Bob attracted a lot of great expertise. They established a great support system, and we've gotten a number of awards along the way. The ones that are most important and resonant to me and really to us are those coming from our customers. Again, 100% customer success. And if you look at Gartner Peer Insights, the customer choice process is a function where our customers and the customers for other vendors that we compare to go in and fill out a poll. In the case of FP&A, from a cloud solution perspective, and this was just recently published in March of this year, we scored a 4.8 out of 5, clearly above and beyond the rest of those that we compare to. And 98% of those that responded said that they would recommend us strongly. For financial close, a bit higher number, 4.9%, or 4.9 rather out of 5, much higher than 4.9%. 98% would recommend us as a solution. But why is that? Aside from our focus on customer success, the approach that we've taken is quite a bit different. Rather than have that fragmented, disconnected group of applications or modules that you have to integrate together, Bob and Tom conceived an approach that was platform oriented, where you have one application for your close and consolidation, for your budgeting, planning, and forecasting, and all of the ancillary functions that are important to each of those major functions. And then they tie it in with great reporting and something that we refer to as financial signaling. Think operational analytics. Because we're using the Microsoft Azure platform, we can get into multidimensional data and relational data and columnar data, which is perhaps too much information, but it enables us to get to the operational, to the transaction level of detail. And then we can use that data to fuel close consolidation, budgeting, planning, and forecasting, or to allow for reporting and analytics on a day in and day out basis. The reason for that is performance management historically has been about end of month process or end of quarter process or end of year process. And the challenge with that is you don't know what you don't know until it's too late. And so with financial signaling, you have the ability to be much more proactive within your performance management exercise. Drilling down a little bit deeper. So from a platform perspective, we include for one license fee, master data, financial data quality, which is the integration. Once the data is in the platform, it's available for all of the functions therein. We also anchor with workflow, which is going to ensure the success of what you're trying to accomplish. From there, from that great foundation, we have financial consolidation. We have an extensible solution for planning, from corporate all the way down to business unit or operational levels of detail. We've got great reporting, both inside of the system as well as through Microsoft Office or third-party integration. And then again, we have a data platform that enables us to get very, very deep with regard to operational data. That's not to say that we're here to replace your data warehouse or here to replace your operational data stores. Rather, we're bringing the supplemental information into the system so you don't have to drill back through to it, though that is still a choice. Let's talk a bit about the Microsoft Azure platform. I think the important thing here is that it's available both on premises and in the cloud. And our solution is identical on premises and in the cloud, which has made it much easier for our customers to move should they choose to do so up to the cloud. That is not something that is forced upon our customers, whereas it is for many of the vendors that we compare to. It's a unified platform that is a great architecture. In fact, I was looking today, TechRadar has ranked Microsoft Azure as the #1 cloud environment in the market. We have that integrated analytics that I talked about. We've got fast and simple upgrades. It's a single tenant so that we don't force the upgrades on you. You get to choose when you do the upgrade. And ultimately, there's a low total cost of ownership. For those that are public sector oriented, we are FedRAMP moderate certified, which is a very important distinction. The platform also enables us to create solutions that you can simply download, configure, and deploy, often with the help of a great partner like Black Diamond. We have productivity tools. The Task Manager is great for establishing a very graphical front end or a Gantt-based front end to our workflow engine. Within financial close and reporting, many of our customers have walked away from Blackline or Trintech, who focus in on account reconciliations and transaction matching, because they can download, configure, and deploy those solutions for free from a license perspective, and then work with their great partners to establish best practices around that subject. Last but not least, planning and analysis. I'm a data geek. I was a statistics and operations research major at university. So I'm all about data, and predictive analytics 123 is a great solution for you to look back at the history and project forward using math, using statistics, at what the possibilities may be. You could then use something like scenario analysis 123, which is not reflected in this list, to do scenario plays from the predictive scenarios. And last but not least, I mentioned earlier, we've got great visualization, great analytics capabilities. Those could be dashboards, they could be reports, they could be Microsoft Office integration or third-party integration. The last two bullet points for me are key and critical. We provide for every process in performance management full auditability and transparency. Very important for closing the books, but equally important for the planning, budgeting, forecasting process, so that you can see where change occurred and account for it. And equally important, the ability to eliminate data latency by bringing the data into the great Microsoft Azure platform. With that, thank you for the time to introduce you to an overview of OneStream. I'm going to throw it back to Randy now.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. So now I want to introduce you to Mahanri Cruz, who represents Unifi, and he's going to walk you through a little background on how they came into existence. So Mahanri, say hello.
Hey, Randy, thank you very much for this time. As you may know, everyone, I'm Mahanri Cruz, Manager of Financial Business Intelligence here at Unifi. Unifi has been for a long time here in the US. We were part of Delta Airlines, and we were a subsidiary that were giving services to the below wing, as we call it, pushing the planes out, taking the luggage out of the planes, and doing cleaning. But now that we have been able to spun out from Delta, we have created our new a new branding, which is called Unifi, and we have become one of the biggest service providers for the aviation services. What services do we provide? It goes around ramp services, cabin, operational, cleaning services also at the airport, security, GSE, which is ground support equipment, all the equipment that we have at the bottom of the airplanes. We maintain all those and give them some care. And that's how we come Unifi, right? That's what we do right now.
Excellent. Thanks, Mahanri. That's great. Yeah, everybody here has probably run into somebody that didn't even know that they ran into somebody who worked for Unifi. Anybody who's traveled probably ran into somebody. But great. Well, we're going to dive in now to a live demo. We're going to show you what they've done from their operational forecasting within OneStream. So we're going to jump right in and look at that. All right. So what we're going to dive into first is the detailed labor staffing. So this is a volume-based labor plan. And what our goal here is to marry together operational planning and FP&A. So we're going to bring sparse data, the flight data, across many entities, which are the different airports, into one place. So station managers actually interact with OneStream. They collect their data real time, and then we collect it, and FP&A actually reviews that and can tweak it to determine a final staffing plan. So this collection of staffing in real time based on flight data allows us to filter it through the entire ecosystem, which we're going to cover today, including overtime, PTO, vacation, all your fringe accounts, all the way down the P&L. So we're going to dive into the demo and look at that. But before we do, I want to kind of introduce Mahanri again, and he's going to talk about some of the advantages in the transformation of the Unifi pre-OneStream to what we are right now.
Thank you very much, Randy. So OneStream has been great for us, and I'm going to start with this. So our financials are very heavily manipulated by the amount of employees and hours that we are using, right? So hence we were looking for a solution that can aggregate all this information, eliminate a bunch of spreadsheet, and have everything in one place, normalized, and with the same, columns and everything. So in this case, I would say that OneStream has given us the ability to plan by position, by type of employee, either it is full time or part time, and also this, we have all these data points in the labor that can have different rates. So we were able to kind of like see all these type of ever changing data points. We are in the flight industry. Every flight needs to have their checks and balances. We're doing the same here in our financials, um, with OneStream.
Excellent. Well, let's peel back the covers. And Carl Ole, who's with us today, he's going to be driving us, and Mahan and I are going to walk through this and give you a peek into what really happens here. So the first thing we're going to kind of set the stage for is the station manager. So you're working out at an airport and you're trying to manage the different flights coming in, and you're really trying to manage the different volume and activity and events that happen. So the first contact in OneStream is with the station manager with this cube view. So what they see is a little snapshot of the forecast, the budget, and the variance. This was very critical to give them a picture of what's happened in the past. That's kind of at the top, the level set for the station manager. They really wanted insight to what was going on in the past before I can kind of think about the future. So we put that up at the top, and then we created an area for them to input weekly events. So this is where the different ramp services by the type of jet, a regional, a jumbo, there's different events that happen. So we're really having them type in the different volume that's going to happen. And then a factor is applied, and you come up with your monthly volume that is going to be in that particular station. So Mahanri, walk us a little bit through how the thought process was to create a very clean, easy place for the station managers to interact with OneStream to collect very valuable data.
Yeah. In this case, in past history, what we were doing is like, hey, we have this bunch of spreadsheets, send it down to the station managers. They will fill it out, and it will come back to us. Now we have this central place in OneStream to gather that without sending, a bunch of emails. But what they need to do here is they will come, as you said, they input the weekly events that they're gonna think, because they are the people that are gonna have the most accurate information about how many flights are going to happen during the week, month, and the next couple of months, right?
So this is where they come in and they're putting in this example, we have 15 ramp service. They know they're going to be 15. We have a weekly factor. We know that there's going to be, 66 flights that are going to come in that require, some ramp service, obviously. So that's what they get in, and they get to input. So that's kind of their touch point there. Excellent. So I guess next up, after the station managers collect their volumes, that's the station manager. We've collected in the different data from the station manager. So now let's go in and look at how that volume of data translates to FP&A. What does it mean to them? So this is a very key cube view for Unifi, and putting this together was very, creative and innovative in what they do here. So what happens is this volume-based revenue form allows FP&A to look at the different services that are provided for the station that are compared three different ways. Two different ways, really, but the third way is the FP&A. So you have the flight data, which is what the predictive flight data is supposed to be. So basically a flight schedule. Then you have the station manager come in, and what we just saw in the previous form, they typed in the volume they think is going to happen, which could be different than what the flight data originally said. And then the third kind of touch point would be the FP&A group. So they took a look at the flight data, then they take a look at what the station manager did, and then they determine what reality is, which they have a couple different choices here. And Mahoney is going to walk through their thought process. But essentially at the bottom, you'll see a drop down where they can pick, the FP&A department can pick, do I believe the flight data? Do I believe the station manager? Or do I want to make something up myself? So they have an opportunity to kind of cater and craft what the volume is really going to be that flows through the model. So Mahanri, kind of expand on that and tell us, why you created it this way to give kind of that, three-legged kind of touch points here.
In this case, we wanted this cube view to make sure that we give the analyst the all data points, right? So as you said, we have the flight data, we have the station manager information, but at the end, the FP&A analyst, the financial analyst, need to choose what is the best information at his fingerprints, right? In this case, we have like 66 flights for the RJ run, which is chosen by the calculation method. And as an example, is because the FP&A analysts believe that the station manager is administering, good information into our plan. So hence he chooses that one. But going further into the months, if you go to September, you're gonna see that he chooses flight data, which means like, okay, station manager didn't provide any information, but we have some information either by our customer or third party that we have, and we input this into our system, and we're saying, oh, we're gonna have 43, which align with the current month that we are forecasting in July. And also this, if we go further, we can forecast like 2022 and also going, 5 years up to there. So it's very much right in today's world. We have information, what we do with that information. So that's what we put in here. We have 3 points of data. FP&A analysts need to choose what is the best according to his knowledge, right? So
excellent, great. And then as we kind of scroll down here, Mahanri, once we get the flight volume kind of sorted out, we have the departure-based rates. So tell me a little bit about the rate collection here. Is this FP&A who enters this, and how do you come up with these?
yeah. So in this case, we are collecting this information from our accounting system. We get that, pass it through to OneStream, and we give them the choice to make changes if they need to. Usually they don't need to make changes, but recently we had a rate increase, renegotiation, and a couple of contracts. So, and it was going to be effective October going forward. So in here we give that knowledge to them, and they're able to change it according to the contract information that they have at hand, and depending on the dates. But we use this so we can generate the revenue based on the flights, and if
So this will get you the total contract activities based on the volume and that departure-based rate. Excellent. So once this is complete, so you've had your station manager in the first cube view, you've got your FP&A kind of scrubbing the numbers in the second view. Then we get to the real meaty cube view. And this has got a lot going on because your business is very, it's a lot of moving pieces here. So the piece that I found interesting was we take the volume, which that's the flight data. That's the actual landings of flights. But there is a weighted volume. And tell us a little bit about the weighted volume and why that matters versus the volume that we've kind of collected in the previous forms.
So volume will give us the actual flights, is the count of how many flights we're going to bill back to our client. But the weighted volume is the one that gives us how many hours we need to use with the workforce. How many customer service we need, ramp agent, how many hours they need to work on. So that's why we have gone into the background with all these assumptions that we created that goes and say and picks 66 flights and look at the different types of sizes and in this case, and applies a factor. So instead of working 66, we know that it's going to be 74, which is going to translate into hours down below, as you may see.
So weighted volume is essentially adjusting your volume for the size of aircraft. So if it's all regional jets coming in, it might be less than 66 from a effort standpoint. But if you got a whole bunch of jumbo jets coming in, it takes a little bit more effort to clean it. So you really have a background process that adjusts it based on the aircraft coming in.
Yep, that's what we do. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So once we get the adjusted volume, you've got your head count here. And what I noticed in the head count is you have the different positions that you need to service the aircraft. We have a customer service agent, we have a ramp agent. And I noticed if we scroll down and a little bit over to the right, I'll see the first 3 months of the forecast or head count, and the out months are not input. So we're actually doing head count for just 3 months out, but we're kind of calculating head count further. So can you expand a little bit on, your forecasting process here and how we're able to do two different methods within the same line? So traditionally I see head count as an input, but it would be all the way through all the periods out there. You've kind of isolated it to just a smaller group of months. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's very unique.
Yeah, in this case, we had this idea that we were creating in Excel, and I believe we shared this with you guys, and you came up with this idea like, hey, we can do the first 3 months, we can plan it one way, then the next 3 months or 10 months, we can do another way. But in this case, what we do here, what we needed to have in our firm is like, we know for a fact that for the first 3 months, we will have accurate flight data, accurate head count. So in this case, we want to plan based on the head count, but then going further, the outside of those 3 months, and then we're gonna input based on the flight volume that you saw at the top. Um, we're gonna have we are planning based on hours per departure, right? So depending, if you scroll down, you're gonna see a couple of numbers there that are gonna show us what is the hours per departure for the 3 months, and we run rate that one out to forecast the head count in that case.
Excellent. So we vary the head count is actually the short term because we have a better insight of what heads we can plan. And as we scroll down, we see hours per departure. Let's go down the sheet a little bit and you'll see hours per departure that picks up in October. And that's where we plug that in. We back into head count. So you actually have the ability to plan a head count for 3 months out, hours departure for the out months, and back into head count. So it's kind of two different ways there. So your head count generates hours per departure in the first 3, and then vice versa for the out 3. So that's pretty strong. And that's based on the accuracy of information by FP&A and the different station managers is why you separate that?
Yeah, we do that because we have different FPN analysts, but they are in charge of different stations, a small group of stations. So their knowledge is gonna be more focused on what is happening day to day. So that would be the best way for us to plan it based on their knowledge. So we gave the option here to do that.
Excellent. All right. If we scroll back up just a little bit, let's take a peek at that head count again. So I noticed some drop downs there at the bottom that says calc method. So if we look at the different calc methods at the bottom, what do those mean? So I see station manager, same month, prior year. So tell me a little bit about what you use to populate the head count. So instead of just typing them in, do you have some sort of driver base that you pull from history?
Yes. So if you see a different the anything from June and behind, that is actual information, what it actually happened. So this calculation metric will have couple of them: station manager plan, flight data is gonna pick information based on the current information. Or if we want to go back in time, let's say pick 6 months average. The FPA analysts understand that these are very stable station. They're gonna pick an average instead of what is happening or what is spiking. Also, we can do like same prior year, so we can account for seasonality also. So that is what's built also in there. There's some script behind the scenes that's gonna pick last year, apply it to here, and then we're gonna have a accurate forecasting because also flights are seasonal. So what happened in last year is gonna happen this year, most likely. That's why we asked for that one in there.
Excellent. And I see that you've broken out your headcount planning into full-time, partner, part-time, and RR. I think that's ready reserve, right? That's pretty granular. So that's your on-call people that you have come in if you've got like a bunch of different flights. So you actually can plan at the different levels within the particular position. So not just the trainer, but you can talk a full-time, part-time, or pull somebody in. So that's great.
That is correct. As I say, we are very detailed in this, and that's how deep we go, and we're able to do it with OneStream.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's work our way down the page a little bit. That's kind of the collection of the head count. We talked a little bit about the hours per departure, which I believe we do some behind the scenes calculations within OneStream that operate when you make a change within the form. Dynamic on the fly calculations will calculate your different productive and weekly hours. So Mahanri, let's take the head count. We put it in. Walk us through how we go from average weekly hours down to your productive hours, which is really the lifeblood of the whole situation here. So tell me a little bit about how we translate into the hours.
Yeah. So in this case, now that we have headcount, here down here we're gonna choose how many average weekly hours they need to work. So we part-timers should not work more than 7, 8 hours in this case, or is this an example? Or full-timer doesn't go more than 30 hours. But after we input this information here, if you scroll down, you're gonna see what is gonna be the final product. So we have in the scene, we have coded there like in July how many holidays we're gonna have, how many PTO we're gonna have based on past history. So down here we're gonna calculate based on headcounts, how many hours they're gonna work, what translate that to productive hours or to work hours, which means how many hours we're gonna pay to our labor force. Which it give us at the bottom is gonna give us what could be the expense, what is the expense that we're gonna forecast for any given moment of time.
Excellent. So productive hours, they drive a considerable amount of downstream, key views and different calculations. So we're taking those productive hours, that feeds your overtime, your PTO, your
differential. There are many other cubes that we have, and we're not going to show it here, but yeah, drive overtime, how many percent of overtime we're going to have, what's going to be the cost of that, fringe, let's say we have historical information about PTO and or sick pay. So we consider all that, trying to forecast it very granular our workforce.
Excellent. All right. And as we work our way down the rest of this cube view, come to the average rates again. So you're putting in your average cost rate here. I assume you have the same functionality of using prior month or different selections here as well to populate your rate. Same situation as before, which drives the ultimate kind of end all be all of this cube view is what is the direct labor cost for this particular contract at this station. So what anything I'm missing there, Mahanari, or is that, this is kind of the end result of what you're getting here to manage these contracts, right?
Yeah, this is the end result, at least for this piece, because there's more. If we go further in detail, we're gonna see how many bonuses paid and all these expenses related to labor force, right? FICA and all that stuff. So you just seeing the tip of the ice here, but it goes deeper than that. But this will be the start of it.
Excellent. So we started when we started this discussion, we talked about the collection of information for the station manager. The FP&A department picks a couple different options. They massage it a little bit, and then it kind of comes into this final cube view. And you can see as we walk through it, it takes that volume, we put in the head count, it translates it to productive hours, we come up with our cost, and then that just continues down and feeds into all the other different calculations around the P&L to be able to get profitability around these different contracts and so forth. And I think we're going to dive into a couple more here with the allocations in Flash that'll show you some of the downstream effects. But this is just a good tip of the iceberg, like you said. A lot going on, very complicated business across the world, all kinds of different airports, a lot of different people working, doing different things. So this is a great snapshot for you, and I appreciate you walking through that.
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you.
Next is something near and dear to my heart, which is weekly flash forecasting. So this is a great concept in the industry now about breaking down a month into weekly and daily forecasting. So what we've actually been able to do at Unifi is allow the station managers to adjust for current events and major things in month. It is actually material. A lot of people don't do flash reporting or flash forecasting because it's not necessarily material, but in this business it is. So we've created a nice solution to allow them to change things in month that would be very impactful in the longer range forecast. So Mahanri, tell us a little bit about how this flash forecasting has impacted your business and allowed your station managers to be more accurate.
Yeah. So weekly flash forecasting is the work done during the month in a nutshell. So we want to know what's going to happen at the end of the month, right? So in today's ever-changing environment, as we see in the airline industry, flight changes all the time, as we see every month, last year. And as a better example, I have MCI, which is Kansas City. We have a couple of football games within the charter contracts that we have in the first quarter of this year, and we had spike of the flights for the current given week. So this gives us kind of like the ability to using the flash report to plan the labor, plan the headcount, but also watch the net income, which is our a very important number, not going to the right when this happens.
Excellent. So so basically when Kansas City wins, the station managers have to go in and plan for extra flights coming in. So what other things are there? Other things like climate, you can really go in and change all kinds of things or all kinds of events, not just football, but uh, what other global things do you see that to allow them to get in here and change?
Yeah, so most commonly we have, let's say for example, Alaska. Every now and then we got some storms, snowstorms. So they divert the 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 flight to another station. So those things are right there that can happen.
Actually,
It could
that's a
be.
great point. The diversion of aircraft. That's a great point because I don't know how many times they've been diverted. So that's how they actually can go on the fly and say that I'm flying in somewhere else. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's take a look at what this looks like in the system. So it's very clean, very simple, and I see that's been designed to take the total month and spread it across the weeks. So we set this up to do that by the days in the week. So each month has a different way it falls. So week one maybe has 1 day, 2 days, and then 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, and then the last week of the month could have a couple hanging days. So you spread the values across the different weeks once, and then you can go and adjust. So tell me a little bit, Mahanri, why you picked hours per departure and the average cost rate is the two pieces that the station managers can change. Like why would those be selected?
Yeah. So hours per departure give us kind of the right number that we need to do per, right? It says the name per departure. So in the background, we have done the work already to have the correct assumptions for this station and this contract. So it's gonna calculate, hey, this every flight is gonna need 2 hours. Let's say we're looking at the week number one. So you need 2 hours and a half, and the rate of these hours that is gonna cost us $17, right? So these two methods are going to be 80% of our costs in the P&L. Hence, right, are the very important ones here in the weekly
So
flash
those
that
are the
we
most
use.
important factors for the station manager to adjust that impact materially the P&L. So when Kansas City gets a bunch more flights, we know we're going to have more hours per departure, and the rate may go up because of we have to call people in for overtime and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course, overtime and depending on the state or in this case MCI, so we need to pay them double the time or half time more. So yeah, it gives us the ability to adjust them based on the current events.
Excellent. So this once this is changed during the course of the month and they change this, it does roll up to the total and then it kind of feeds into the overall structure that leads into the next month, the rest of the year and so forth. So it does actually kind of roll all the way up through the whole ecosystem. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh yeah. So it's very important for our CEO to see this as things changes and they just want to see what is going to happen.
Thanks again for looking at the Unifi demo with us today. Mahanri, thank you very much. That kind of concludes our live demo. As we wrap up things here, we are going to be at Splash in Orlando. So Mahanri and Carl and Sherry and myself will be down there. We're actually presenting the Unifi solution in a little bit more detail. If you have any questions and you come to Splash, more than happy to walk you through it. It's August 31st through September 2nd. Any questions on that, feel free to reach out to OneStream themselves or Black Diamond, and we can hook you up with a voucher code to get in there as well. So thanks again for that. On behalf of Dave Collins, Mahanri, Carl, and myself, I want to thank you for the entire webinar and your time. We know it's valuable, and have a great day.